Hello. You're listening to Cracking, Episode 2. A 3-part audio drama about mental health and fatherhood. After each episode, we chat to a peer support worker in the field about the topics raised within. Some listeners may find the following difficult to listen to, due to themes of postnatal mental health problems.
This is a waste of time. I don't know why we're here. I don't understand what's happening to us. Who wants to start? I'm so tired. Why isn't she saying anything? I feel like I'm being judged. Why does she keep looking at me? They think it's all my fault. Who wants to start? This is ridiculous.
What?
We're just going to sit here?
Oh, I thought you might have something to say.
Doesn't matter what I say.
Of course it does. It's been a difficult week. Sam just won't talk about
I
it.
just don't really see the point in going over it again and again.
What do you think, Rachel?
I think we're changed by it.
How are we changed by it?
You're different.
I'm different.
With me. I don't know what you're thinking anymore.
You've made it perfectly clear what you think.
Sam, talk to me.
I don't know what you want me to say.
I can't believe we've gone through all of this and we can't even talk to each other.
Okay, so what do you want me to say?
I know that it wasn't easy for you. You must have felt
Ignored?
Really... I was going to say angry.
I just felt like I'd done all this stuff and she'd just been up in bed. Surely she could have just given me a little bit of praise, you know.
For a bit of housework.
For looking after your son.
Our son.
I'm
trying really
To
hard
what?
to keep talking to you.
But that's what you wanted, right? You wanted to hear the truth.
Yeah.
Only you don't want to hear it. You only want to hear your own version of it. Like that time in Vegas when you were completely wasted.
I remember that was the time that we decided to get married.
Yeah. But we had a baby instead.
A baby Sam didn't want.
A baby Rachel couldn't look after.
Why are you being like this?
Like what?
I really thought
Well, you wanted to know how I felt.
Oh, do you have to be such a twat?
What?
There's no getting through to you, is there?
Well, so what do you want me to say?
Do you know what? Forget it.
Oh,
no,
Rachel.
It was a stupid idea to think you'd actually take counselling seriously. You don't take responsibility for anything.
Right. So who been looking after Tommy night after night? Who been feeding him while you couldn't? Who been reading him stories while you were freaking out?
Fucking hero.
What's the point?
Sam, where are you going? It wasn't like that. It was It wasn't like I could help it. It was intolerable. My body felt like... It almost felt like a buzzing. Like a physical buzzing. And even though I was absolutely tired, I couldn't sleep. I couldn't turn off to catch up with sleep that I needed, and I couldn't. It was like
Rachel.
like I couldn't. I can't.
Rachel.
It's almost like my body can't turn off. Like,
Are you okay?
Like my brain can't turn off, and like someone's turned a switch in my brain, and it won't go off. I don't know what's wrong with me.
Look, just come back to bed, okay?
Have we made a terrible mistake?
Rach, what's wrong? Slow down.
You're
Hey.
a rubbish man.
Hey, you'll need a feed soon. You're going to wear yourself out.
Just give up. What are you doing? Why are you here? Why? So,
Hang on. Rachel, stop. Rachel, stop. Rachel?
it just starts with one thought about something and then it just free falls. I can't do this, I can't pick him up, I can't feed him, I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't live with it, I can't live, I can't do this, I can't live with it, I can't live like this, I can't live with this feeling.
I knew that really things weren't right, but I was shattered. I didn't understand what was going on. I thought, maybe she's just suffering from insomnia and exhaustion. I mean, I was scared. I didn't know what she was going to do. I mean, Christ, I couldn't even leave the flat sometimes.
Please don't go to work today.
I said I have to.
Please don't leave me.
I couldn't not go in again.
I don't want to be on my own.
I'll tell her I'll call you at lunchtime.
Sam, please. No, I don't want you to go. No, give me the keys.
What are you doing? Christ, you nearly broke my fingers. Rach.
When it's really bad, it feels like my blood's on fire. I can feel it in my veins. All through my veins, it feels like burning. I can't. It's almost like my body can't turn off, like someone's done a switch in my brain and it won't go off.
Tommy needs you.
He frightens me.
He's just a baby.
He doesn't like me.
No, that's just because you're not around. He just doesn't know you.
I don't want to cuddle him. I don't want to look at him.
For fuck's sake.
He'd be better without me, you both would.
What's that supposed to mean? Rachel?
I didn't know what was going on. I was scared. I was scared that nobody could help me.
Cracking is an All Right Mate production written by Callie Hayes and directed by Kevin Johnson. Rachel was played by Georgia Robinson and Sam by Tom Bowdler. Cracking was edited by Hugh McCann. This audio production was made with support from DadPad, the essential guide for new dads. Find out more about DadPad at thedadpad.co.uk. Find out more about All Right Mate at allrightmateproject.com. We're now joined by Rob Ewers from Acacia Family Support to discuss this episode.
So, Rob, to start off with, what do you think
was happening to Sam in the piece that you were listening to?
Bit of a familiar story, really. It's obviously starting to unravel for him, really. Now he's sort of gone down the line a little bit, and he's got time to get a bit of a breath. It's all starting to come apart, isn't it? And he's struggling. He's not coping. I think that it is a common story. I mean, for most dads who develop perinatal mental health problems, it tends to peak around about 3 or 6 months. But there are other dads that it takes quite a while longer, depending what circumstances are and that. And I think it's a typical thing for men to just keep going. And so cracks are appearing, and we might not be coping well and really struggling, but we're not really going to tell anybody. And that, of course, has an accumulative effect. And then for a lot of men, as time goes on, you reach a point when it all just then starts coming down, starts tumbling down, and you realise that you need some help. I mean, unfortunately, for a lot of men, they still don't get that help, and so the long-term effects, that there are implications for their life and the relationship, like in this situation. And
I mean, how common do you think it is for men to keep going during the crisis? I mean, you were saying that you think it is. Is that in your experience of the men that you work with?
Yeah. And it was true for me as well, because I experienced perinatal mental health problems myself. I was quite unusual in that I was one of the men that I developed postnatal anxiety and depression. My wife actually didn't. They're quite huge numbers, that a piece of meta-analysis research was done, it was about 10 years ago now, looking at research from around the world around perinatal mental health and mood disorders, and then identified that up to 10% of all dads develop their own mental health problems, mood disorders in the perinatal period. So that's a huge amount of men, isn't it? And if you look at how many of those actually do anything about accessing any services or any therapies, which is minute, then all those other guys have just carried on, haven't they? And for men, although we can get a lot of the typical sort of anxiety and depression, for men, very often there are other things in addition to that are not necessarily recognised as symptoms of the illness. Risky behaviour is a classic one, that men can often start getting more involved in making risky decisions and risky behaviours as a sort of distraction, something that's happening on a sort of subconscious level, or getting more involved in work and spending more and more time at work, using more alcohol and other substances, and those type of things that may be seen as misbehaviour, rather than recognising that they are actually symptoms of this illness. And as I say, so a lot of men may carry on that behaviour then beyond the perinatal period, and it's become a coping mechanism, and they carry it on with them. And from those around them, they just say, gosh, that had the baby and struggled a bit, and then the dad just developed all this selfish behaviour, and and etc.
And do you think that's a barrier for men getting the help they need, because perhaps their symptoms or behaviours are being misinterpreted?
Yeah, I think that is part of the issue, but obviously the other part of the issue is that as men, we're the fixers. We sort we repair everything. We fix everything, don't we? And certainly for myself, that was a huge issue for me to admit They're all struggling with anxiety and depression. In my situation, my wife wasn't, so that was an added thing. But it's that whole thing, is it? And that as a man, I don't have a mental health problem. I'll be all right. I'll cope. I'll be okay. So that, obviously, that's a huge issue. I think dads, like I say, it's that thing, isn't it? It's a weakness, isn't it? It's a it means I'm not coping. You know, I think and this is talked about a lot, isn't it? You know, with social media so much on the rise and everybody taking the best pictures and posting the best bits of video around life and around the birth of a new baby, and, you know, and all that stuff. That again, it creates this world where if you're a man that's coping, or a woman, that there's something deeply the matter with you, but everybody else is doing okay. So everybody else has got it right, and that everything looks great, and they're really enjoying the baby, and it's fantastic. But there's something the matter with you. Well, you're not going to want to admit that, are you? Because then you're a bit less than everybody else, aren't you? Yeah, and of course we've got a service now we've developed where we provide listening and befriending support for dads and partners as well, so they can access that for themselves. But we do also promote outside of that, so that dads don't have to, their wife doesn't need to be accessing our service. They can access our service separately. As we've just discussed, you know, that's a huge thing. To get dads and partners to engage for all the reasons we were just talking about. So we do get dads coming directly to us, and we work closely with midwives, health visitors, the specialist perinatal mental health team, and others, GPs. And so quite often they may make the referral. The issue there is that they may make the referral, but whether the dad actually follows that through is another matter. So we do, we're there to provide support for dads, provide information, and we can, obviously, our services, we only operate in Birmingham, unfortunately. We're not a nationwide service. So we provide the service for Birmingham dads. However, we can direct them to resources, online resources, and some telephone services that are available nationally if we can't provide that information ourselves. But you know, very often, is this true with the mum service as well? Very often, huge improvement can be made just in one telephone call, one contact, with normalising and bringing hope to the situation, helping dads. But it's the same with mums as well, to understand it's not just you. You know, it's not, you've not failed and it's all about you, but actually this is very common. It's very common, and you're not well, and you're going to get better. You know, this is just a passing phase. And that's huge for people, because I mean, I can remember myself in my own experience, so I know that's true from that perspective too. That feeling, again, like I say, especially as a man, that I'm somehow deficient. Anxiety and depression was something that was not me, it was other people, weak people and things. So to understand that actually it's quite common, and you're not well, but you are going to get better. That was huge for me. So a large part of what we do is we're a listening and befriending service, so it's a lot of listening, really, helping the dads and moms understand what's going on, talk it through, and maybe we might have a few tips up our sleeve here and there of ways that may help. And that's it. It's quite a simple service, really, but sees fantastic results. We do focus on that mild to moderate end of the illness, which I mean, for dads, that on the whole, that's what they're experiencing anyway. But it's usually successful in sort of changing the course of their experience and their mental health.
Do you think it makes a difference to men if they are talking to another dad who's had a similar experience, or
Yeah, well, I think that's generally true across the board. So most of our staff and volunteers have experienced that either perinatal mental health problems or other mental health problems, and so right across our service for the mums as well. That's huge, isn't it? If you're talking to somebody who you feel actually knows they might not have had exactly the same experience, but they're on the same page, aren't they? They know where you're coming from. So I think that is really important. Interestingly for dads, so there are dads that it is really important that they speak to another dad that's been through a similar thing. But we do get dads as well who actually more feel happier talking to one of our female listeners and befrienders. And again, there can be this sort of quite complex dynamics going on, can't there? And things for men where they actually feel it uncomfortable talking to another man about their weaknesses and things like that. And there can be other things going on. So we always try to be like really open and try to meet the dads, the partners at their point of need with, you know, what's going to work for them and stuff. We're very gentle, our approach with what we do.
Yeah. So when a dad meets your service for the first time, what could they expect?
Yeah, well, normally the way that would work, so we'd have a referral, we'd contact that person, we'd send them some resources in a pack and have a chat and arrange an initial telephone assessment. So that would be that first sort of point of contact. And then in that telephone assessment, that's quite lengthy, but it's not just about we're going to ask you all these questions so we can tick all our boxes. So that's really the first opportunity that dad will then have to just spill it out if you want to, you know. And even at that first contact, like I said, there'll be a lot of normalizing going on, which is huge with the vast majority of people anyway. But also a little bit of advice here and there on things that may be pressing, things that may be helpful, ideas of resources they can access. But so yeah, so that assessment to be completed, and if the dad's not suitable for our service, we will endeavour to get them connected with whatever's available in the, you know, where they are and that they can access, make appropriate referrals and stuff. If they do stay in the service, then generally speaking, most dads prefer telephone befriending anyway, because it's easier to schedule in, especially if they're working or whatever. And so that's what it'll tend to be: a weekly, fortnightly telephone one-to-one call.
Because I wanted to ask, going back to the piece that you listened to, what the challenges are for men to have to keep working when their partner is postnatally unwell, or indeed if they've become postnatally unwell.
Yeah, and that's where, for most dads, they just like push on, don't they? Push on, and like I say, that's where all these other coping behaviours come in that offer them looking like misbehaviour. They're just coping mechanisms of self-distraction and, you know, ways to just feel better for a little while and pressing on. Yeah, and that's huge, isn't it? Because that's just deferring the inevitable. The sooner
experience, in your own personal experience, did you feel under pressure to keep working even though
yeah, of course, yeah. And that, again, that was not just from the point of view that we've got to have the money coming in. That was also from the point of view I'm going to go off sick because I'm mad. So it was not just that aspect of needing to bring an income, carrying on bringing an income into the house, but it was also the stuff that's tied up with that. So I'm off work because I can't cope, because I'm mental.
The shame around that.
That's all the sort of things I was saying to myself that I'd never say to anybody else. But, another typical thing with anxiety and depression, as I'm sure you're aware, and with any of this sort of illness, is that your self-talk. You'd never talk to somebody else like that. The dads who are experiencing this, if their mate was experiencing it, they'd be telling them, I need to get off to the GP and not be so hard on yourself and stuff. But what goes on in your head is you're a flipping idiot. You can't cope. You're mental. You're whatever. It's just shocking, isn't it, really?
Thank you. Thanks for that.
Thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed. If you have been affected by any of the content raised in this episode, you can find a list of support that we have created on our website at www.allrightmateproject.com/find-support.